You ever have a moment in life where everything shifts, and you know, deep down, that nothing will ever be the same again? Mine happened in our kitchen, on a Tuesday evening that started out like any other. The house smelled like overcooked pasta. My mom had the TV humming in the background, and I was sitting at the table flipping through college brochures, circling classes I couldn't wait to take. And then, without warning, she said it. "I think it's time you move out." Just like that. I looked up from the table, unsure if I'd heard her right. Maybe she meant eventually. Maybe she meant in a few months. Maybe this was just one of those passive-aggressive mom phrases that didn't really mean anything. But her face told me otherwise. Flat. Unapologetic. "What?" I asked, my voice a whisper. "You're 18 now. You've graduated. It's time for you to start your life. Be independent. You can't stay here forever." I turned to my dad, expecting some kind of reaction. A pause. A flinch. Something. But he just nodded once, like this had all been discussed already. And suddenly it hit me. This wasn't a conversation. This was a decision. One they had made together. Without me. And the worst part? It wasn't about me at all. No, this was about Emily, my older sister, and her boyfriend, Liam. He'd been sleeping on their couch for weeks. Unemployed. Broke. With that lazy, smug confidence some men carry like armor. The kind of guy who always had an excuse. Always had a charm that worked on older people. My parents thought he was just misunderstood. But now? Now they wanted to give him my room. I felt my heart drop like a stone in my chest. "You're kicking me out for Liam?" I asked. Mom raised an eyebrow like I was the one being unreasonable. "He's had a hard time. We're just trying to help him back on his feet. Besides, Emily needs him close." I almost laughed. Emily and I had never been close. She was always the favorite, louder, prettier, messier in that way people found endearing. I was the quiet one. The background daughter. The one they didn't have to worry about. Until now. "I don't have anywhere to go," I said, still hoping, still pleading for some kind of decency. "You'll figure it out," my dad muttered, like it was that simple. And that was it. No plan. No money. No offer to help pack. Just a garbage bag full of my clothes and a hug that felt more like an obligation than a goodbye. I spent that first night on a friend's couch. One night turned into a week. Then a month. I found a job at a nearby grocery store, early shifts unloading crates of produce, late shifts stocking shelves until my hands ached. I saved every dollar I could. Skipped meals to stretch my budget. Bought a second-hand mattress off Craigslist and shared a dingy apartment with two strangers and a noisy dog that hated me. But I survived. I had no choice. The people who were supposed to love me most had chosen someone else. And not just anyone. Someone who hadn't earned it. Someone who had done nothing but take up space in a house that used to be mine. They never called to check on me. Not once. No birthdays. No holidays. No apologies. And somehow, that silence hurt worse than the eviction itself. Years passed. I worked. Studied. Rebuilt. And in time, I stopped expecting them to come back. Stopped hoping for closure. Stopped wondering if they ever felt regret. But then, on a rainy afternoon with no warning at all, I heard a knock on my door. And everything I had buried came crashing to the surface. I almost didn't answer the door. It was late. The sky was heavy with rain, and thunder grumbled low in the distance like a warning. I'd just gotten home from work, tossed off my soaked shoes, and wrapped myself in the warmth of my own space, the one I'd built from nothing. Quiet, safe, mine. Then the knock came again. Firm. Steady. Too familiar. I tiptoed to the peephole, hoping it was just a neighbor or a package drop-off gone wrong. But when I looked through the lens, my stomach twisted into knots. It was them. My parents. Standing on the other side of the door like they hadn't disappeared from my life for years. Like they hadn't made me feel like I was disposable. Like I hadn't been 18 and terrified and left to figure out the world alone. I didn't move. My heart pounded against my ribs. I should have walked away. But something, curiosity, resentment, unfinished pain, pulled my hand to the handle. I opened the door just wide enough to see their faces in full. My mother looked exactly the same, controlled, polished, her expression already rehearsed. My father, though, he'd changed. His posture slouched, hair more gray than I remembered, eyes that darted rather than focused. Like he wasn't sure he belonged there. "Hi," she said, as if this were just another Sunday visit. I didn't reply. "We were hoping we could come in," she added. A beat passed. The silence stretched. "Why?" I finally asked. Dad cleared his throat. "We just thought maybe it was time to talk." I should have slammed the door. But I didn't. Maybe I wanted to see if they changed. Maybe I wanted to hear the apology I never got. Or maybe, deep down, some small ember of my younger self still needed closure. So I stepped aside. They walked in slowly, as if crossing into sacred ground. My mother took in the small apartment, her eyes sweeping over the neat living room, the framed photos, the faint scent of jasmine from the candle burning on the counter. "This is nice," she said, voice flat but vaguely impressed. "It's mine," I replied. "Every inch of it." We sat. The couch felt colder with them on it. "I assume this isn't a social call," I said. Dad gave a small nod. "No. We need your help." Of course they did. My chest tightened. "Help?" Mom leaned forward, clasping her hands like she was performing sympathy. "Your father's not well," she said. "His mobility is limited, and the house is too much for us now. We were hoping maybe we could stay with you, just for a little while, until we get things sorted." I stared at them. Disbelief. Rage. Sadness. "You mean to tell me," I began slowly, "that after all this time, after abandoning me, after kicking me out for Emily's boyfriend, you're here to ask for a place to stay?" Mom flinched, just slightly. "That was a long time ago. Not long enough." Dad looked down, as if ashamed. But I wasn't sure if it was real or just strategic. "You didn't reach out when I was sleeping on couches," I continued. "You didn't care when I had nothing. Not even a text on my birthday. And now you're here because life's hard and you need something." They said nothing. For a moment, it was quiet. Unbearably quiet. Then I stood up. "No," I said firmly. Mom blinked. "You're serious?" "As serious as you were when you packed my bags." Dad opened his mouth to argue, but I cut him off. "I built this life in spite of you, not because of you. And I will not let you come in now and take a single piece of it." My mother's face hardened. The sympathy vanished. "So you're going to turn your back on your own family?" I felt a bitter laugh rise in my throat. "You did that first." They stood. My father didn't meet my eyes. My mother looked at me like she didn't recognize the person standing before her. Good. I wasn't the same girl they'd kicked out. I was someone who survived them. As the door clicked shut behind them, I let out a shaky breath. And for the first time in years, I felt powerful. After they left, I didn't move for a long time. I just stood there, frozen in the middle of my apartment. My space. My air. But it didn't feel peaceful. Not right away. It felt like standing in the eye of a storm, calm on the surface, but with 1,000 old winds swirling just outside, waiting to pull me back into memories I'd spent years trying to outgrow. I sat down, slowly, on the edge of my couch. The same spot they had occupied only minutes earlier. And I shook. Not with fear, but with the effort it took not to cry. Because saying no to them, it hadn't been easy. They were my parents. They were supposed to love me. And somewhere deep inside, some part of the little girl I used to be still wanted to believe they did. But love doesn't abandon you when you're most vulnerable. Love doesn't measure your worth in square footage or convenience. Love doesn't kick you out for a boy who couldn't even keep a job. I thought about those nights years ago when I cried myself to sleep on that friend's couch, clutching my phone, hoping it would ring, hoping someone from home would call, hoping I hadn't been forgotten completely. But no one ever did. And the silence became my answer. I had to learn, piece by jagged piece, that I wasn't wanted, that I was replaceable. Even when I tried to justify it, they were stressed. Emily needed help. Maybe they thought I'd be fine. None of those excuses filled the hole they left behind. Now they needed me. And it wasn't because they missed me. It was because I had something they didn't. Stability. Strength. A home. They came not to reconnect, but to consume. To be rescued by the very daughter they once threw to the wolves. And somehow, they expected me to say yes. Maybe that's what stung the most. That they still saw me as someone who owed them. But I owed them nothing. I pulled out an old box that night. One I hadn't touched in years. Inside were a few photographs I couldn't bring myself to throw away. Me at age 5 in a sparkly pink dress, clutching a ribbon from a school play. My dad holding me on his shoulders at the county fair. Mom kissing me on the cheek after my graduation. I stared at those pictures for a long time. Those people in the images, they looked happy. Solid. Like a family. But I knew better now. The photos were snapshots, not truth. A lens can't see betrayal. Still, I didn't throw them away. Because they weren't for them anymore. They were for me. Proof that I had survived all of it and built something better. Not perfect, but mine. I stood up, walked into the kitchen, and poured a glass of wine. I toasted no one. Just took a slow sip and let the silence wrap around me. Not as emptiness, but as peace. That night, I slept deeply. And when the morning sun spilled through my windows, I didn't feel hollow. I felt free. A week passed. Then two. I didn't hear from them again, and I didn't expect to. They'd knocked on my door not for reconciliation, not to apologize or reflect, but because they needed a bed. And when I said no, I stopped being useful. I became inconvenient again. But this time, I didn't chase them. I didn't wonder if I had overreacted. I didn't sit in the dark, second-guessing my words. I didn't replay the moment like a wound that wouldn't scab. Instead, I cleaned my apartment, rearranged the furniture, bought new throw pillows just because they made me smile. And in that quiet, ordinary routine, I realized something. I had finally outgrown their power over me. That kind of freedom? It's subtle. It doesn't arrive with trumpets or fireworks. It creeps in like a sunrise, slow, soft, undeniable. Still, there was one piece left unfinished. Emily. I hadn't spoken to my sister in years. Not since the day she told me I was being dramatic for being upset. That Liam needed help more than I did. That I should just get over it. She had chosen him and lost me. But I'd heard through old family whispers that Liam eventually left her, took her car, emptied her account, disappeared with some girl he met at a bar. For a long time, I didn't care. But now I wondered if she remembered that day. If she knew what it cost me. What it cost us. So I did something I never thought I would. I wrote her a letter. It wasn't long, but it was honest. I told her how I felt. What that eviction did to me. The loneliness. The shame. The resilience it forced me to find. I told her she hurt me, but I also told her something else. I'm not writing this to blame you. I'm writing this to free myself. If you ever want to talk, really talk, I'm open. But only if you come with truth, not excuses. I sealed it, mailed it, and let go of the outcome. 2 more weeks passed. And then, late one evening, I got an email. Subject line, I read your letter. It was from her. She wrote, I don't know where to begin. I was so blind back then, so wrapped up in him, and in myself, that I didn't see what we did to you. I want you to know I'm sorry. Truly. I wish I could go back and choose differently. But I hope it's not too late to start again. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not crying. Not shaking. Just still. Because even though she was years too late, she came with truth. We met for coffee that weekend. No hugs. No dramatic scene. Just 2 women with shared blood and long shadows between them, sitting at a corner table, trying to rebuild something out of the ruins. And it wasn't perfect, but it was a start. As for my parents, they never reached out again. And that's okay, because I don't need an apology to know who I am. I don't need them to see my worth. I see it. I earned it. I carried it through empty rooms, through sleepless nights, through the silence of a family that chose someone else over me, and I still rose. This life, it's mine, and I will never again apologize for protecting the peace I built from scratch.